excused. Cause you're always late, overweight, totally rude.
Hi, this is episode number 17 of Creatively Unworthy Podcast. I'm Rebecca.
Christin.
Larry Chambers, father of Christin.
Yes, daughter of Larry. I'm daughter of Larry.
I am friend of Larry and Christin.
She's
And
the link.
yes, the linchpin.
The
linchpin. She's the linchpin.
I said the
Okay.
link, but I like linchpin better. That's fancy.
Yeah, it is
What is
fancy.
this?
That was
Yeah.
good.
16? Is
I
this
haven't
our
heard
16?
linchpin in a really long time. That's good.
Or cross stitch
Wow.
for the knitters out there. Whatever.
Okay,
I knit, but I don't know any of the words.
so
I don't really either.
I would like to suggest a topic for today, and it's something that I'm dealing with, seems like, since I've come back from Cambodia, and that is, my age friends all own their homes now. Their kids have gone to college. Most of them haven't been divorced a bunch of times. So they're stable and, living these lives. And I'll just give you an example. I got a text from my cousin, Donna, and she was all excited, and her husband decided their house was worth $200,000 more than they paid for it, and they could get it tomorrow. The market in Florida is great, and they're going to move to this podunk town that she found out, where they could buy this house and blah 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 blah. And I got pissed. I mean, I read this like, doesn't she realize when I'm trying to inch out an extra $1,000 to help this family in Cambodia, and somebody tells me that they're going to make $200,000 on their house, that I'm not going to feel jealous and annoyed and every other, like, I don't care. I'm glad for her. And then I thought,
Does it sound like it?
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. And then she sent me, of course, an email just a few hours later that, they went and saw this town and they decided against it. And she really, her friends are still in this place where they live. And I just thought, yeah, it was just like 2 weeks ago, she was talking about how they wanted to expand their house and put a swimming pool in. And I was pissed off about that. Not that I'm always pissed off. I mean, I thought, okay, fine, but she'll throw out these extra, it's only going to cost us $60,000. And, as somebody, I feel like an immigrant in a way that gave up my rights to borrowing money by leaving the country for 10 years, because I come back with basically no credit. I did what I thought was right by paying all cash, but you can't live in America that way. You have to,
I learned
I
that.
guess you can, but it's very, very difficult. So my question.
I used to get made fun of for using cash.
Yeah, well, here's my conundrum is, I don't remember that I've made a conscious choice not to try and live this success life, quote unquote, America style, which is, home, car, wife, blah, blah. And I decided to help people in another country that don't have anything. And I forget that. And then sometimes I'll wake up with this thought, I'm not really helping them. What the hell am I doing? I'm over there. I'm probably taking advantage of the country because I get to, the rent's cheap, and I walk, and then I get, and then I'm like, oh my God, and I guess it's called confusion. It's kind of like, this voice in the back of my head, which is very competitive. I'm competitive, and that came up with my breakfast dinner I had with Logan. His girlfriend said, boy, you guys are so competitive. And I am. And it's not like I think it's bad, but I turn it in on myself. Like I haven't succeeded enough, It doesn't matter. I'm going to use an example that some people may hate, but I'll use the example of Donald Trump. He's like this billionaire. I've always heard he's a billionaire, but I also know he's a real estate developer. And he probably has 2 sets of books, which they will eventually find out he does, which he does, and probably isn't worth as much as somebody that's poor if they subtracted out all of his liabilities, what he really has. And then I'll go and watch news things that have been, these guys are going, we're going to get Trump. And they start showing that a lot of this old stuff is falling apart and the family's turning in and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll think, then I'll feel good about myself for 5 seconds. And then I'll get back into, but my cousin's going to get, $200,000 worth of equity. And then she decides not to do it. And I thought, wow.
You've got a busy, dark voice in your head.
No, this is it, Christin. And this is one of the things I wanted to bring up is this never ending shadow voice. And Rebecca and I have talked about this. I think I've sent her this story that I wrote about the shadow enforcers. And I heard this from Guy Finley, who talks about this a lot in his stories, and how these people, here's what happens. You're sound asleep, you're dreaming, and the alarm goes off, and you promised yourself the night before you're going to get up at 6 a.m. and work out. As soon as the alarm goes off, what pops up is 2 or 3 of these shadow enforcers going like, that's the stupidest idea I've ever had. It's really comfortable. You should go back to sleep. Why don't you get up at 7? And the guy hits the alarm and goes back to sleep. Then the next day, a woman's walking down the street, and she's going to start this weight loss program that she's read about. And as soon as she says that, 3 shadow enforcers show up in front of her and say, wait a minute, those don't work. You know that. But besides, you love ice cream and, blah, 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 blah. And then there's this one girl that she wants to do something. Of course, the shadow enforcers show up and start talking to her, and she just looks past them. And the moment that she looks past them, they disappear. The shadow enforcers are the voice in your head going on, telling you all the negative things. And so I thought, wow, that's a great thing for people to know. And so, Christin, I wrote out this.
We were writing that called it Dark Waters years ago.
Dark Waters years ago. Yeah. That's exactly
I was going to say, but I like that though, because
genius.
Dark Waters is like that, a thing that comes and eats you, but like, it kind of does feel like 3 people popping up in front of you, and
or
like,
more. Yeah.
And then I don't want to explain Dark Waters now because that's a whole nother podcast. But
it was just the same kind of exchange, and the old lady says, go on without me.
Yeah.
To the thought, like they want to drag her down a even darker
exactly
thought.
It's
go on without me, I'm good.
It's a metaphor for anytime that negative voice shows up in your head. Now, I wrote something, Christin. I hope you like this, because I'm going to send this when we get through to Rebecca. So she'll put it on the end.
Is this your poem?
No. This is about what I'm talking about.
Oh, great.
Okay, so this is like a law. Okay. Whatever truths you are willing to learn about yourself will free you from the captivity of whatever mistaken ideas you unknowingly have agreed to live under. Let me say it again. Whatever truth you're willing to learn about yourself will free you from the captivity of whatever mistaken ideas you unknowingly have agreed to live under. Okay, here's an example.
Yeah.
Here's an example. If I can just get people to like me, then I'll be happy. I mean, how many times have you heard people, that's a thought that a lot of people will have or say you have. Well, the minute that you have that mistaken idea or that thought, you are faced with the consequences that they won't like you. And now the next action is to agree to everything they say. And even if they're beliefs that you don't agree with, you'll agree with them only to later hate yourself for that weakness.
I like that.
So it's about this voice, and this learning how to uncover the voice is the first step to freedom. As anybody who's a creative knows, that that's a constant thing that will stop you. It's like not feeling confident that if you start on this book that you're going to A, finish it, B, it's going to be good, and C, it's going to get published. You got to set that aside because you have absolutely no control over the outcome. You only have control over the process by trying to make it as good as you can, but the outcome is the outcome. So I'm trying to say this in a way that exposes that negativity that's inside of us with this little saying about this law about exposing the truth.
It's great.
I think it's really good.
Yeah, I really like that. It really hits home too, because literally like hours ago today, I was thinking about like my massive Google Docs, how many short stories I've started and haven't finished, and just like listening to that voice and feeling crummy and just being like, well, like just gonna start another one and then not finish it, and
It's that judgmental voice. Let me ask you, when you hear that voice, is it in first or second person?
it's a third person.
It's third person?
Yeah. Is that weird?
Like
No.
the Will Ferrell
It's
movie?
like that friend that you have that isn't really your friend, but
Okay,
like
tell us
criticizes
what it
everything you do.
says. Tell it what it says. I mean, first person is really simple. You'll say, I want a glass of water. That's first person. Second person is you need to go get a glass of water. Third person would be Rebecca needs a glass of water. And I don't think you do that.
Yeah, no, it's more like, oh, you shouldn't do that. What
That's
do you
second
think
person.
about that? Okay.
That's it. Now, where is that voice oriented? Like, is it in the back of your head, here, to the side? Actually, take a second and think about that voice and tell me where it comes from, where it's oriented. And I've got a point I'm gonna make in a minute.
It's kind of like standing over me.
Here,
Like somebody looking over your shoulder while you're working.
It's like on your shoulder. So on your right shoulder, your left shoulder,
Like,
right up there.
yeah.
Okay, great. Guess what you've just done? You've oriented the voice. Until just now, you probably didn't know where that voice was coming from. Now, let me explain. Let me take this a step further. The reason why I bring this up is part of being dyslexic. When you become at the effect of dyslexia, it's really about being disoriented. And there's been a lot of research about one of the ways to cure, or to work on, or to cure the effects of dyslexia is to be able to orient yourself to where you read the words. So like for some people, when here's what will happen is I'm reading a sentence, every good boy does fine, or something like that.
Yeah.
And some of those words aren't visual words. And so I'll get disoriented for just a second. Well, disoriented means I don't have any place to stand from. But if you're oriented, like if you said, if you're from here and you start to think about that voice talking from there, what do you think is going to happen? Christin, what do you think will happen?
you won't feel it as much.
It loses its power. It loses its power because you've oriented that voice so it's not disoriented. Disorientation, they've found, what dyslexia really is being when you get confused and you get disoriented. And they'll tell you that. That's what the scientists say about dyslexia. They don't have their cure is to get the kid on
Slow you down.
Yeah.
Adderall
And some drugs.
or whatever. But
I've never thought about it that way
These are-
before. That actually makes a lot of sense, though.
these
It's
are things
like-
that I've used over the years that helped me.
He also uses it to get rid of headaches.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Forgot about that, Christin. God, you go
Yeah.
back way back.
I remember everything. It's genius.
Christin would have a headache.
Mhm.
I would ask her to describe the headache. I learned this at EST. It's an old EST trick. But the thought being is you can't describe something and be at the effect of the same thing you're describing. So as she starts to describe the headache, it's large. Well, how large is it? Well, it's It's actually
How
12
much
inches.
water would it hold?
Yeah, and how much water would it hold? Will it hold a bucket of water? And as you just, what color is it? Well, it's red. Well, it's actually kind of yellow. Well, now what size is it? Well, now it's about a cup. Do you feel the pain? Now that it's gone. And
Oh my
what
God.
happens in that instant is, it's kind of like, think of it like this. It's physics. You can't take two solid balls and press them into each other. What happens if I press them into each other?
Can't each other out.
No, that actually, do you guys figure that out on your own? Like, because that's like,
He did.
yeah.
He learned it at the forum.
Like, recently
Apparently.
I've been trying to study like a bunch of different stuff because I'm bored. So I've been studying theology, and one thing they tell you to do when you're having like a lapse of faith moment or whatever is to describe like goodness, because the two things can't coexist, and that's been like historically something people have been doing for like a really long time. That's
like, you can't be depressed and happy at the same time.
Yeah,
There's
like
no
you
such
can't,
thing as depressed happy.
because they can't. Yeah, they contradict each other. That's
It's a contradiction.
Oh my God, that's
this stuff.
I didn't think that could be applied to other things though.
No,
That's
it's simple.
That's brilliant. I mean,
we make things way too complicated. I can't deal with complications. Actually, one of my unique abilities is I can take complex things and make them simple and simplify them.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I remember an example of this was this woman asked me to help her figure out what an IRA account was, and I just said, oh, it's just like a great big savings account. Or I did something really said it so simple that she got it. Well, she was trying to make it more complicated. Well, it's actually an individual retirement account that was set up by the government. Not like, no,
Yeah.
you don't need to make it that complicated. And we've got to try as artists to weed through these conversations. It's almost like anti-muses. Talk about the shadow, shadow guys. They're like anti-muses. They pop there, and it's coming from your head. It's in all of this stuff is made up from us, by us. It's like there's something inside of our brains that does not want us to succeed, or doesn't want us to be happy, or doesn't want us to feel, worthy, or doesn't, whatever that is. It's years and years and years of these voices that we've internalized, and years of shame that we've internalized, which has become toxic. And here's the punchline of all this. Once those conversations start to become real, they start to harden, they start to become the truth. And they're not. They're just fabrications that we tell ourselves. You know? And it's kind of like
demons.
Yeah, they are like demons. It is. They're little demon helpers,
Yeah.
Little
demon helpers. I love that. Market that.
I'll guarantee you, the minute you win the lottery, you will figure out how to lose all that money.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it's
Isn't
not me
like
guaranteeing
what everybody does when they win the lottery.
Research. You read research. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We can't talk over each other because we lose it. You're bad. No. It's the research shows that I forget there's a high percentage of lottery owners. I mean, people that win hundreds of millions of dollars within 5 years are broke, or they're in debt.
Yeah.
Why would that be? You would think it wouldn't.
Idiots.
No, they're not idiots. It's those shadow enforcers showing up going, you need to buy a bigger house. Bigger house. I mean, I see it in Cambodia. The minute that somebody sells a property, the first thing they do is go out and buy this is somebody who's poor that didn't even have anything. Now they buy a big house, and they buy a Land Rover or a Bentley or something to show off this newfound wealth.
Sounds like they're not too bright. They're a little slow, so they might be dumb, and that's why they're poor to begin with.
No,
so
Christin,
if you give them a bunch of money,
I mean,
a bunch of money, and they stupidly like spend it on sports cars. That's not very bright.
Well, that was me. That's what I did. The minute I started making
Sorry.
tons of money, the first thing I did was buy Porsche. You know?
Yeah, but you earned that money. You didn't win it in a lottery.
Well, I'm talking. Oh, okay.
You worked hard for that.
But you just made a blanket statement that poor people are dumb, and that's far from.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
Yeah,
all people that win lotteries are dumb. I don't mean that. I just mean
oh,
sounds like the ones we were talking about weren't very bright with their money.
But it's kind of like, I don't know. But then you also start to feel guilty, or oh, my mom doesn't have a house now. Like, oh, I have to. And then you provide for the whole everybody.
Generosity
spread thin, and like there's a sort of peacocking to having money now, because now you want to look the part, right? Since you have it, so you'll need that Bentley, you'll need that bigger house, you'll need that.
Unless you go undercover, like some of those rich guys, they drive a crappy car and wear.
Now let's bring this all the way back around to my initial complaint about my cousin.
Oh yeah, back to you, Dad. Sorry.
We started talking her $200,000 worth of, and then me feeling jealous about that. So that is, what is that? That's an example of shadow enforcers jumping up saying, how dare she, why is she telling you this? Why isn't, and oh, by the way, you know how much you need to help with my.
Doesn't she know that hurts my feelings without me saying that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And when I asked for the like, I remember, I did that GoFundMe thing because people, their house burned down.
Right.
People had sent money. So somebody said, yeah, I feel bad that, things are going bad for you. That they were talking about me. And I thought, this isn't for me. I wanted to go like, Jesus God, I can't win. I can't win in my endeavor to be a different person.
It sounds like you're battling yourself most of the time, though. It sounds like you're battling your own voices, not the actual person communicating with you. Because it sounds like just because I know you so well, like you can jump to the worst conclusion.
I always jump
immediately, and then you get angry, and it's like off to the races. Shame attack city, let's party. Yeah. But like sometimes someone's just telling you what it's like for them, but they don't realize
they don't have to say
this whole forum in your head going, what the fuck? What do you mean by that? Why did he say that? Don't show me pictures of your car. Like, it's a talent that's kept you alive. This like ability to like have a bunch of different points of view to keep yourself alive and your people around you. But now it's like a circus almost that we can't control.
Let me give you another example. When I returned from the Vietnam War, I was so proud of what I did. I thought, we would help these people and everything was great. And that lasted for about 1 week when I returned. And then on the news and all the protesters and everybody was saying, baby killers, and you're wrong, and you did all this terrible stuff. And it was like, Jesus God, and my self-confidence. I mean, when I came back, I was literally at the highest point of self-confidence I'd ever been in my life. I was an Army Ranger, jumped out of airplanes, saved people's lives. And now I felt like people were trying to make me feel like shit. Shadow enforcers were just having a field day with me. When it's not just me, it's all the vets. That's why you usually can't talk to Vietnam vets about the Vietnam War. I got this really great joke I like to tell about how many Vietnam vets does it take to screw in a light bulb? You don't know, you weren't there.
That is hilarious.
Isn't that great?
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
It's kind of sad though that I bet everybody was going against them when they came back after, they went and fought. It makes you defensive like that.
Oh, you're totally defensive.
Yeah.
You're defending you. First of all, you had friends die. You'd spent your life, possibly you shot people. And so you had that going in your back of your mind. And now to have, some liberal woman who could bear, who is just.
The people you were defending are turning on you. And you're like, I was just trying to help.
Yeah, I thought I was,
There's that layer though of like the media that just gets the mob going and just.
What I wanted to do, I wanted to have a full handout of all the atrocities that have been committed by the communists in Cambodia and Vietnam, and by the Chinese communists.
To educate
educate somebody before they open their fucking mouth. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, if you don't have anything to say, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of people with no ability to have empathy either.
Yeah. They have no empathy. And here's what happens with these guys that suffer from post-traumatic stress and all this kind of stuff. They're on my Facebook page, so I read the stuff they say and I know them. They walk into the room in defense. They walk into the room ready to fight because they know that you think they're bad. And so you say something like, thank you for your service. And they go, fuck you. Like, why did you thank me 20 years? Just who knows whatever they say. But I found that they're difficult to talk to about. It's just they can't let go of that part of their image of themselves, whatever that image was in 1966 or 67 or 68. That image is locked in their brain, and anybody that tries to change that then is the enemy, in their mind. It's really hard.
That's why I'm so impressed by you, Dad, because you took those, because you had PTSD, you still have PTSD and stuff, but you did something with it.
You don't know, you weren't there.
I lived with you my whole life.
I'm joking. I'm trying
but that's so funny though. That's a really good joke. We got to make a T-shirt out of that or something.
Yeah. You don't know you're there.
Yeah.
On
the back, it'll be like,
you don't know.
Like the Sam, like the America Wants You guy saying, you don't know. Yeah. Anyway, point is, Dad, he started doing art therapy. That's basically what you were doing. Is
John Fox for 40 years.
Oh, he's the one that led. Okay, yeah. Dad would paint these memories that he had from the war, and they were just so magnificent. They're so impressive. But I had no idea that, first of all, you could paint, and that that began a whole process of reflection over the last, I don't even know how many years, of opening up and being willing to rewrite how you see yourself. He's done the work. My dad has done. Larry is my dad, for those of you who don't know. And Larry, I don't know where he's positioned. For me, he's over there.
I have to be the because you're so positive and bubbly. I have to.
But this has been hard work. This has not been easy, and Kristin's paid the price.
Yeah.
Because Logan, for my post-traumatic stress, or for my,
I have post-traumatic stress.
And I had post-traumatic. John Fox one time told me that I had post-traumatic stress way before I went to Vietnam.
Oh, 100%. That
was just icing on the cake. But I've worked on it. I have worked and worked and worked and worked. And this last journey that I started 10 years ago to Cambodia is kind of the culmination of a lot of that work, was to go over there and find out what kind of truths there really were. And the more I find out, when you first find out, I got mad. I got real, it was really hard for me to talk about it. But after a while, you start to go, I realize it's just what it is.
You were grieving as well, because the truth was heartbreaking, and you didn't know a lot of that stuff while you were over there fighting. So, I can only imagine how much you've grown just for going back and facing the killing tree and the.
Rebecca, maybe it would be a good thing to read that poem that I wrote.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, it has to do with the killing tree.
And you can submit it right now after we're done, so that if anybody steals it.
Well, nobody's going to steal it. I don't ever worry about that stuff. But okay, so let me set this up. There's a few miles outside of Phnom Penh, Cambodia. There's a tree at the center of a former orchard in the village of Kanjan Kai. It's one of the 260 execution camps used by the Khmer Rouge during the Pol Pot reign of terror. This was 1975 to 1979. Really short 4 years. But the Khmer Rouge killed almost half of the population. But so this is about the killing tree. I am a tree that birds do not land, that children do not climb. No families come to play or sing, only sadness fills their eyes. The people come to see this place. They look at me and cry. They look my sign, the killing tree, but no one tells them why. I hear them talk bad of me. I hear all they say. I hear them say, cut, cut, cut it down. I watch them walk away. My home was good before that time, before the evil came. I wish they knew the home was good before the evil stay. Where rice grew tall, and I put big tall L's, where birds sang their early morning songs. Then one day the bombs were dropped. They blackened out the sky. They blackened out the midday sun and cracked a hole to die. That was when the demons rose. That was how they came. They told the people they had stopped. They told people time had stopped. No family smile, no happy home, soft hands, a lethal crime. My home became the place where evil came to stay, where darkness covered up the screams and evil loved to play. All at night they dug the next day's graves. At night they counted what they'd done. At night was when the trucks arrived, when people with people's made up crimes. Human skeletons wrapped in yellow skin, eyes covered, hands bound behind their backs. No light but utter darkness shades. And rest can never dwell. Hope can never come, but torture without end. When man stood outside the barbed wire gate, he stood alone with list in hand. He checked off every name. He read each sentence as if true, for nothing they had done. At night, I saw the helpers come. Headlights shine on roadside gone. They dressed in black and carried guns. No one got away. Don't get close. It's dark inside. It's where the evil's done. Don't get close. It's dark inside. It's where the evil's done. The days were hot and turned to dark. The stars lit up the sky as hell-bound hands began their nighttime chores. They chopped with axe and blade. The nights were filled with people's cries, the day with rotten smell. The demons took each mother's child and bashed against my trunk. Their blood ran. Their blood ran red and stained my skin before they tossed each one away. Then one day the killing stopped. No one told me why. Graves were covered, tools were dropped, assassins ran away. They tried to wash their bloodstained hands to justify each killing blow as good for what they served. But memories still filled their nighttime sleep for all that they had done. The helpers swore lies were told. No bad things there was ever done. But why so many bones were neatly stacked, graying in the sun? For me, I'll be okay. The monks had come to, can't get through it. Come to pray. They built their stupas thin and tall. Wow. And stacked the skulls for all the things that evil done. As for me, I'll be okay. Around my trunk, they tied strings of red, blue, and yellow gray. Then cut this wooden sign for me and printed letters white. Chankia, the killing tree, forgive for what has been done. I was going to say, forgive me for what I've done, but hard for me to even get through that.
Yeah.
Because I stood there where babies were bashed against this tree. And all I could think of was, somebody should write a poem about this tree. we need, nobody even knows about it. Nobody even knows what had happened to these people in Cambodia. And it just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Don't be sorry.
Don't apologize to us. Oh my God.
I'm glad that you wrote about it though. Like I literally never heard about it until like you told me about it.
I feel like I was there with you. Like
That's why I said I'm not worried about somebody writing this poem, because unless they're there, how they gonna feel it? How they gonna express that? And it's not perfect. As I read it, and you should always read your stuff, I could hear words. It's kind of one of those rhymes like those really kind of disjointed poets. I'm trying to think of the guy's name.
I like those kind of poems though. Like there's some rhymes, some doesn't.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway,
That's
the first time I've read that out loud, Kristen.
Whew.
Yeah.
Let's say a prayer for what you just told us about. I mean, might as well, right? Let's take a
lot of people don't want to go to visit this killing field. Robert, when he came there, wouldn't go out there. They don't want. It's like people don't want to.
Wasn't he really sick?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was.
Typhoid fever or something, dengue fever.
But I mean, this wasn't even taught in the Cambodian schools until 2012. The people weren't even told about it. And part of the reason is the Khmer Rouge just filtered back into the society, and even the prime minister was once Khmer Rouge, and then he had went over to the Vietnamese side, actually became a good guy and got rid of them. But now he uses fear to rule the country, and all he has to say is tell the old people, that the opposing party will bring back the Khmer Rouge, and they will like vote for him.
Jesus.
Because they're so, that every single person there has lost a minimum of 2 to 30 relatives. Every person I've met. Can you imagine if every girlfriend that you have lost their parents, their grandparents, or all their uncles, all their aunts, and all of their relatives? It's just, and this was the ultimate Maoist communist. Pol Pot was actually an educated man. He went to France and became a communist because the French Communist Party was the big thing back in the 40s and 50s. And he learned well. He went and learned under Mao. And if you study like the Holocaust or what caused the Nazis to do what they did, you'll see the same things, like taking the people blindfolded, out, and they couldn't see they were going to be executed, and how the way they did it. And the people that did it didn't even know that they didn't want to believe they're doing anything wrong until Schindler, somebody like Schindler took this enormous risk and, got saved the lives of thousands of Jews, and most people think, well, wait a minute, that's Nazis, that evil's gone. It's bullshit. That the Germans are no different than you and I. They're the people that live there are just the same. They thought they're just, the leadership had hypnotized them, and they went into a deep cultural trance about Germany. And they sort of, what happens is that you let things slide. That's why people get so animate about bringing everybody to justice that attacked our capital, attacked democracy, because that's exactly the way the youth movement, or the Hitler's movement, started in Nazi Germany. The same kind of thing. Use violence to knock down, the other guy. That's why I think somebody like Donald Trump is actually a very, very dangerous person. He doesn't know it. He doesn't acknowledge, who he is, that he's actually a megamaniac that is so convinced he knows more than the generals and the people and everybody.
Would he be considered like an antichrist? or no?
Yeah, I mean, I consider him
Is that what an antichrist is? Like,
well, I don't have to call him an antichrist. I would say that he's just not enlightened. He refuses to accept responsibility for the words that come out of his mouth, and doesn't realize that his actions, he's also uneducated. He thinks he is, but he really has never studied history, doesn't really care to look at history. But it's the reason why so many of the Democrats were just going furious is because a lot of these guys, a lot of the, on the, the left side is, you have a lot of educated people, and they study history. They know this stuff can happen again if you let it, and so that's why it's so important to not let somebody just declare something was illegal and I'm still the president, and all of this stuff. And look at how these people just believe it. That's where I said earlier, this thing that I'd written about hold on a second. What I wrote about the whatever I'd said earlier about whatever the truth you're willing to learn about yourself will free you from the captivity of whatever mistaken ideas you unknowingly have agreed to. And then I said the next action is to agree. You sort of fawn to that person and you cow down to them, and they must know something that I don't know. But we all know what's the truth, and all you have to do is sit back and watch all of these people that were close to Trump, and the closer they were, the more he's turned on them, and then they end up hating themselves for that weakness that they cowed down, and except for a few of the really brave ones that said bullshit, I'm not going to let this happen. Like the head of the Joint Chiefs, there's a book that just came out, and he was worried that Trump was going to start, he's in charge of the military. He was worried that he was going to, start a civil war, and he was, or whatever kind of war. But thank God that didn't come to it. But there's books now coming out telling this inside stuff that we were on this brink of, our country's collapse because of one man, and all of these followers that are convinced and still convinced that he was right and he knows best. And I guess the rest of us don't know anything. But if you look in your heart of hearts, you know what's true and what's not, Anyway, on that happy note,
yeah.
Now I'm going to have all the Trump lovers will hate me, but I don't give a shit. They need to really look inside themselves and see what's the truth about it, and then go find out. Don't believe me.
Oh, well, how about this? What's Trump got to do with it?
Yeah.
Like, who cares what they think, that you think, or that we think? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
No, it really doesn't.
Unless you're harming others, and then we're going to have some talks and some rules. And thank God.
Yeah.
It didn't get. I mean, it got bad, but thank God it didn't get as far as it could have. Thank God. Whew. That was scary.
Yeah.
And how he never pointed at China and loves Putin and Russia. And now it keeps coming out how much hacking has been going on by the Chinese government, sponsored by the Chinese government to steal secrets, to steal. I mean, you go over and you can find every single thing that we've done in this country, Facebook to Google to everything. The Chinese have absolutely copied it and claimed it as their own.
Yeah.
Version. It's like millions of Pizza Hut who was the first Pizza Hut, and then look at all the people that copied the pizza or whatever one was first. I don't know what's first.
Yeah. But I love Chinese people. I don't love the Chinese government. So I want to say, that. And
same.
The thing about China is if you disagree, it's like Donald Trump. You will be gone.
Yeah, that sounds
what I say.
Like a nightmare existence.
Well, and it really is. We saw that before the pandemic hit in Hong Kong. Do you know what they were protesting in Hong Kong?
Maybe.
I'll short circuit. Hong Kong had gone back to China, mainland China. The lease had run out. It was now back to mainland China. And the people that grew up in Hong Kong, what had happened was they were worried. There was a new law that if you did a crime in Hong Kong, you could be shipped to mainland China and be tried for your crime. So that's what they were protesting. And they were willing to die for that because people when you go to prison in China, you disappear.
Yeah.
Into the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this you got China, North Korea, to some degree, Russia, but not so bad. But if you want to look and see the result of a communist or a totalitarian government, fly over the world, or look at a satellite view of Europe flying over, and then Asia, and then you'll fly over North Korea, and it's blacked out. There's no lights at night. They don't have light. These people are still starving and living in the most horrific conditions.
Yeah.
One of the things that Pol Pot did in Cambodia, back to the Cambodian communists, when they came in, it was like they wanted to take everything back to year zero.
Yeah, I was going to say very primitive.
It was very primitive. And so what had happened was the people that lived in the cities became the enemy of the farmers. And so if you were a city dweller, you became the enemy of the nation of Cambodia. So you were punished and put out in the fields to work 18-hour days, eat very little, basically starved a lot. They figured probably another 1 million people died from that. But they were so stupid, and they would actually like somebody wanted, one of the the leaders wanted to run this pipeline up a hill, and of course nobody wanted to disagree with them and say, well, that can't be done, and anybody that did was executed. So they spent thousands of man hours building this reservoir that would run water uphill. That's insane. But when you're at risk of death by saying anything against it, what are you going to do?
It's like the world is flat.
If the world is flat, it's that same group of people.
Honestly, politicians scare the shit out of me. Like,
they should.
I mean, we just got
they're
Trump out of office, right? But then now we have Biden in office, and I don't know. I don't think he's any better.
Ooh,
Like,
damn,
have you heard of some of the stuff that he does? Like,
apparently not.
Around kids? Like,
What?
yeah, there's a compilation of him every time he takes a photo up with any little girl. He pets their hair and smells them. And it was taken off YouTube because of inappropriate something with a minor. Inappropriate activities with a minor. But
so that's a point of view.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not a point of view. It's a video. There's
I know, but let me give you my own example.
It's really creepy.
Because I'm younger than he is, but let me give you an example. I would love to put my arms around Peeps younger, the little girls. I would love to do that, and I don't. I absolutely freaking.
But would you smell their hair?
Let me finish.
And like he puts his hand on their chest, like over here, while taking the photo of like their prepubescent girl area.
I know that photo is real.
It's not a photo. It's a video of him doing it. A compilation of videos of him doing really creepy stuff.
Oh
okay.
no.
Well, not to get into that, because I would always say, give me your source.
I will. I can send it. I can send it.
I don't want to. Really actually, I don't really care about that. I just want to finish what I was telling. Let me tell you something about that.
Yeah.
So I come back to this freaking country, America, and I walk to wait a minute. I walk to my gym, and there's this man with his 3 daughters, and I looked at him, and I wanted to say, God, you got beautiful daughters. And he took his arm around him and just hustled him away. And I went like, fuck you, you piece of, that he didn't say it out loud, but like, fuck you, how dare you? What's wrong with a grown man putting his arm around a girl, except in the perception of the person that sees it?
Nothing's wrong with it.
No,
Nothing's wrong with
there's
it.
nothing wrong with it except in the perception of the viewer. Think about that for a second.
I need to send the videos.
No, I know.
I don't think it's wrong. My family was very touchy growing up. We all hug. We all say
Nowadays it's not. We're not.
But this was weird. This was like particularly creepy.
Okay, I guess that's creepy.
It was too touchy. It wasn't friendly touchy. It was like.
Okay, let me juxtaposition. Let me juxtaposition.
I need to send it.
Wait a minute. Let me juxtaposition. Yeah. The president of the United States on tape said, "I would just grab their pussy if I want to." That was Donald Trump. Yeah. Remember? That was way back when he was running for president. There was a video where they had him in this, he was judging some contest. And he goes, "Yeah, they always come up to me and I just grab their pussy if I want." And everybody was shocked and they still voted for him. Well, I'll vote for a guy that puts his arm around a girl over some complete asshole. But anyway, I don't want to get off on that topic, but
yeah,
you know, I don't care about politicians either. I'm just saying,
I
got accused. It's so easy in the eye of for somebody to see something, you know, like I got in an argument on a plane with this woman that worked for UNICEF, and she was this young girl that was, you know, going to Cambodia, and I thought, "Oh, this is great." I said, "Yeah, I went there and I decided to, I met this woman and she had these 5 young daughters, and I decided, and I've been helping them for the last 7 or 8 years." And she said, "Well, you fit the profile." And it was, what? And so that stopped the conversation. And I sat on the plane for 8 to 20 hours thinking how I wanted to go back and just argue with that woman. How dare you? You know, it was, I fit her profile. I fit it's some profile that I'm a pedophile because I, you know, or whatever it is.
That's messed up though. That is messed up.
That's messed up. Yeah. That's what's out there. It's in the eye of the viewer, you know.
But this is like, I don't know. This is different though. Like I get that, but sure this is like, it's, I don't know. It's hard to explain it. I didn't believe it until I saw it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't criminal. It was just creepy.
Okay, well, you can't get arrested for creepy.
You can't get arrested for creepy, but I don't know. I think it's like telling. My friend Tron, he has the same opinion. So I don't know. We talk politics, as you.
No. I have to take a potty break real quick.
Well, we should end this because it's now 8:30 and we're talking about something that has nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of put me in a defensive position. I don't.
Don't be offensive. Don't be.
I've been accused of the same thing and I didn't do anything.
Larry, I know you and I know your character and I know you would never do anything like that. So
the woman at the UNICEF doesn't know that. Yeah. She's telling her friends, there was.
Screw her. Who cares what she thinks?
She went off of nothing to assume something. This is like video of.
If it were true, then we'd have something to worry about. But since it's not true, let her think whatever she wants. You don't have to live with her. Yeah. Thank God.
And I know that we believe every video we see. Until then, it's always happened.
I wish I could believe every.
I don't want to believe every video I see.
10 months later,
this video was before he ran for president. It was on the YouTube for years and years and years, and just got recently taken down when he was campaigning for president. It was like, let me find it.
Okay, well,
I'm not gonna show it. Yeah, let's end the podcast, but I'll show.
It would be so cool though, because there's some cool videos.
You're excused, 'cause you're always late, overweight, and totally rude.